Well, it's been almost exactly 2 years, and finally, the pandemic is dissipating. We made our choices, we learned our lessons, and it's a new dawn. The spring equinox is coming, and it's a new season for the year 2022, and a new time for all of us to embrace new life, new opportunities, new abundance. And while we balance our care and genuine prayer for peace in the awareness of a world that still includes unthinkable tragedy and sorrow and even war, we also are grateful for how blessed we are. And so let us use this spring of 2022 to take everything that we've learned, clear the past, and move forward in gratitude for the freedom that we have, for the blessings of our lives, for the opportunity to come together again in community, online, and yes, in person. We are all part of the awakening world, and we all have the roles that we're playing as individuals and collectively. We are the imaginal cells finding each other to create a beautiful, incredible butterfly out of the old paradigm. So welcome to spring of 2022. Welcome to the awakening world.
We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, stronger than ever, not divided. We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, hear the call, you are invited. We come from the same source, a powerful love force.
Welcome everybody to the early show of the Awakening World. And we are a beautiful community. And we're talking this weekend on the Awakening World about something we all have to deal with, death. And many of us at this point have had loved ones, maybe family members, maybe our parents that have passed. I had a dog that passed away 2 weeks ago, and I walked my mother and my father and my wife all through the death process. And I know that all of you have had death in your lives and perhaps even currently in your lives. And so we wanted to really talk about this topic. We, of course, explored it on Saturday Night Live a couple of times, and we're dedicating this entire weekend to exploring it. And when I knew that I wanted to tackle this topic, I knew two things. I wanted Kristen Hoffman to be my co-host, and I wanted to make sure that we had Dannion Brinkley, because Dannion is someone who understands death probably as well as any human being alive, because he's experienced so many near-death experiences. I can't keep track now. I think the last number was 4 that he's had. We'll find out in a moment because he's with us. But you know, as important as Dannion's, and I'll bring it on while I'm talking about him, but don't say anything, Dannion, because I'm going to talk about you for another minute. In addition to the best-selling book, the movie, the lectures about his near-death experiences, what we're going to talk about during this early Zoom Room show is the beautiful work he does with hospice. And I've watched him in action. I've watched him change people's lives by helping them prepare for death. And he has dedicated himself helping thousands and thousands of human beings in hospice prepare for that final moment. So, Dannion, thank you so much for being with us throughout this evening and being with us during this early show. Welcome, my friend.
No, thank you very much, Scott. Let me tell you something. The last 2 years, America and the world has been going through a near-death experience. friends.
Mhm.
And as you frame the spring in your opening piece, I think it's brilliantly wonderful, perfectly timed, and beautiful that we have to grip this thing that has held us captured, death. Okay. And because it has been so prevalent and pervasive and so focused on over the last 2 years, there could be no better possible time, Scott, for people to start dealing with it. If you know someone is lost or someone that has passed by the illnesses or whatever is happening, or if you are anticipating or thinking about it, because we're only allotted X amount of time here. We're only allotted the gift of X amount of time here. So I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of the shows, and that you gave everybody this place to come, and they could be comforted and listen to music, and I'm just proud of you.
Oh, thank you, Dannion. You know, Dannion and I go way, way back. Back in 1994, I worked as a producer on a television show. Some of you might remember it, called The Other Side. It was a daytime talk show, and I had the honor of booking Dannion, and that's when we first met. And then we've worked together on The Paranormal Borderline, on Strange Universe, on Saturday Night Live, with a few sushi dinners in between. Um,
Just good, really good friends.
yeah.
You know, we just really good friends, and everybody needs to grip this. And no one ever really dies. Okay, there is separation, Scott. Okay, like the passage of your pure love, your puppy. Let me tell you something. That energy never leaves your field. When something comes into this plane, that is the kind of love and the affection that you draw from that animal. When its time comes, it stays in your field. It's part of the structure of your love. I mean, I can't, people love horses and love certain animals and certain things. That love and that nature stays. And when you pass, it goes to where it's supposed to go. But the human being or the spiritual being doesn't do that. So the grief and the loss of a fur child is as tough as sometimes losing your best friend. So no one ever dies. It will never, ever happen. So the very moment that that statement is made, it's who's making it. It's me making it. I've been a hospice volunteer for 43 years, 37 years in the VA. I have more than 34,000 hours at the bedsides, and I've been with 2,012 people going from this world to the next, and 351 taking their last breath. And I created the Twilight Brigade. And I've been dead so many times, just like a comedy routine. I have had 2 death experiences where I was dead, and 3 near-death experiences because I was having open heart surgery or brain surgery or open heart surgery, okay? Because of damage done from being struck by lightning. So everybody has to stop for a moment and realize you're not going to die. And if you're not going to die, then what happens? What happens? Well, what happens is you are allotted here a certain amount of time because you have a specific mission that you chose to come and do for you, and that's something you chose to come and do for the divine's expansion, that it creates a avenue that the divine grows. So what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is practicing being a God. Now, how does that work? Well, take a piece of paper and a pencil and write down everything that you think God is: caring, loving, compassionate, all-knowing, protective. And then think of how many times per day, you have a chance to be one or all those things. It's all day, every day. So there's no escape that the purpose of being here is practicing being a God. Well, religions and institutions and governments have created, and now pharmaceutical empires have created this illusion that you're going to die. And who decides what happened next is in every kind of interpretation in the religions and processes and poems and philosophy. Well, then there are those of us who, because of advancements in medicine, and especially cardiopulmonary resuscitation, have been brought back because of that technique and understanding of how the heart works and other things. So what the divine was trying to do is to take the system that is going to take control of you, which is your healthcare, and send people back because of it to talk about what happens on the other side. Well, the fact that so many people are talking about it, and because it's become mainstream because of you booking me on shows, and okay, and it's become so mainstream, Scott, that now people have to get past all that religious stuff and get past all that philosophy and look at what these people are saying and what's common within what they're saying. Because right there lies the place that you face death so that you work past it. You work past it. I've been through this death experience twice, struck by lightning and dead for 28 minutes. And then just 3 years ago, I went into cardiac arrest and had to be resuscitated twice. So I wasn't under anesthesia in those two events. So when I look at this experience, I've been with thousands of people going from this world to the next, and I pay attention to what matters to them and what people need to have closure in their life. And everybody needs to be cared about, and everybody needs to be appreciated that their life had value. And there has to be techniques and ways that you can do that for someone that empowers you to do what's the right thing at the right time for them. So I created the Twilight Brigade because the trainings in the Twilight Brigade, and soon will be the Transition Brigade, is designed to be able to know how to help somebody ease from this place, this dimensional reality, to the next one. Because you're human and you have relationships and psychologies and patterns, but you're spiritual once you let go of this body, ethereal and then spiritual.
So I'm going to go to the website for the Twilight Brigade in a moment. And one of the things that I do at the early show is this is where we get to go deep on something important. So in addition to the wonderful people that are already with us, we've got about a little over 50, I'm going to really promote this out on our YouTube channel. So tell us about, as we go to the website, it's the Twilight, it's not the, but twilightbrigade.com. Twilightbrigade.com. And then tell us a little bit about these different steps. And as I open each up, one, you can talk a little bit through how people can utilize these services. I guess starting with hospice home care services.
Yeah, well, what we created was we do programs and we do trainings. Okay, and we do trainings because if you look at the demographics, Scott, the baby boomers are 70, almost 73 million people in America. Okay, and the average life expectancy is somewhere around, female and male, is around 76 or 77 years old.
Isn't the life expectancy higher than that?
Nope.
Really?
A man is 73.4 and a woman's 82.5, 82.3, somewhere close to that.
Wow.
So we are the generation the baby boomers, the largest single expansion of babies being born in the history of the whole world was us. Okay. So I don't know how well us has taken care of us itself. But if you look at that demographic, then you already know that death is going to be in the face of everybody in the next 10 years. And that's what's going to happen because people in the male population heads into the 80s. The female population lives longer, but everybody hasn't taken that good a care of themselves. So by creating the Twilight Brigade, which I started out with veterans, because in the third near-death experience, Scott, it was different from the first two. It was different from the electrocution. It was different from the open heart surgery. In the third one, there was a place that I call the blue-gray place. And where that place was, where people hold on to here. You don't have to, once you have earned the right to be born into this dimensional consciousness, once you've earned that right, you have free will. You do not have to do anything. Okay, you have free will. So you don't have to go down the tunnel and you don't have to do all that. It's always a smart thing, but you don't have to do it.
Right.
And people trap themselves, addictions and sociopaths. They can't let go of the physical realm, and they stay in this place. They can't stay forever. But people hold on to this world because it's so rare that you get to come and be physical. It's not a natural phenomena in the worlds where we all really come from to be physical. Okay, so when you hold on to it, but what I saw, Scott, was veterans, and I saw military people felt betrayed, more like MIA and prisoners of war and betrayed. And so I decided to create the Twilight Brigade because veterans have a whole lot more problems and they have a whole lot more issues than most other people have because a lot of them have been to war. And so when they look at that, then that was the place that I could really see the emotional stretch of what was happening psychologically based on what people believed death was, and watch how it affected the family unit so I could help transition or change that level of forgiveness necessary for the veteran and for the family. And so when I created the Twilight Brigade, think of something as simple as this. What's your favorite song and why?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go with Bohemian Rhapsody.
And why?
It always uplifts me. It's magical. I love the band. And I love that it's become an anthem kind of for probably for the baby boomers, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we all kind of grew up with that song and we've loved it for all these decades. Or, of course, certainly many Beatles songs would also come to mind. All You Need Is Love.
But see, watch. When you ask that question, that person has to personally go back and look at their life wherever it is.
All right.
And they find that song, and then you ask them why, because it became just what you were just describing. And they've opened themselves up. No matter how horrible it is, and no matter how deadly or scary it is, as you watching that person leave you, it's not about you. It's about that person, and that person can look back at their life to find memories and points of reference that helps them find that their life had value. Yeah. And it also gives them a sub-psychological position to be able to confess or get something off their chest.
Yeah.
Okay. So I created a program that literally made you into the person in transition so that you could look through your eyes and see what they're going through, what's going through with them, so that you can take the questions that we created and ask them and create closure. We're all going to lose somebody, and it's going to happen. And if we don't prepare for it, I'm doing the notes right now on this book. I have 10 things to know before you go, which is the next one, but the one after that is certainty. If you know of something that is guaranteed and inevitable, how much do you know about it? And what is guaranteed? You will stop breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it gets exciting.
I love that.
You know? Ah!
So we've got 5 minutes left. So,
Sorry.
what are some ways to prepare for that? What do you suggest to people, even if we're, in good health, but what are some practices just to prepare us for that moment? Because sometimes that moment takes a long time, and sometimes, oh my God, here comes the truck, and we've got an instant. What do you suggest?
Well, it's the same thing I always say. Watch. Number one, take your trace minerals. Take your trace minerals. I'm a Linus Paulding follower, 2 times Nobel Prize winner. And he says every illness can be reduced down to a lack of a certain trace mineral. So take your trace minerals. Second, become an expert in your breath. The breath is your relationship to the spiritual world. Breathing in and breathing out. Free will allows you to breathe in as deep as you want or as shallow as you want. And as you breathe out, what you focus on to do is what has value. So pay attention to your breathing. Make sure that in the day you stop and pay attention to if everything around you is affecting you, how shortness of your breath it appears to be happening. Because if it is, you're breaking yourself off from the divine flow and being able to see how to navigate this insane world we're living in right now, everybody. And Scott, I wrote this in Saved by the Light. Every bit of this that's going on right now, I wrote 26 years ago from something that happened in 1975.
That's amazing.
Think about that.
No,
I saw this in 1975. Okay. I wrote it because I got mad. I wrote it in 1993 and published it in 1994. Okay. And everything that's happening now that nuclear is on the table, this is box 11. The chapter title, chapter 5 in Saved by the Light, the title of the chapter is Technology and the Virus. Chapter 12 is Technology and the Virus. And it describes everything that's happening now. So what a person has to do is take their trace minerals and know that they chose to be here at the shift and the change, just like you celebrate the spring. We are birthing a new age. No matter what, the old is collapsing around us, and we are watching it do that. And you know what your job is. Yeah. Practicing being a God and whatever else you are supposed to be doing, you're doing it. And make sure you pay attention to your breath. And then no matter what, you flow with the rhythm, Scott. And you can see this happens about every 3,600 years. They get brave enough to do one of these things. So they haven't won yet.
Well, thank you. I'm going to just remind people that you can learn a lot more about Dannion. And I'm going to take you to 2 websites. Again, I just want to take people to his Twilight Brigade. And thank you so much for your work. Is there a way that people who want to be more involved in hospice can actually, volunteer time? Like, is there a spot there on your website that...
Because that's opening back up again. Remember, the pandemic stopped that.
Oh, right, of course, right.
It stopped it. See, and it stopped it. So I know I watched all that happen. So I'm creating ways that people that they can learn these techniques, because everybody's going to be a hospice volunteer in their life, no matter what.
Yeah.
Guaranteed you will be a hospice volunteer if it's for nobody but yourself.
Yeah,
and I want people to know it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I spent the last 6 weeks of my mother's life. She was in hospice in her own home, and I moved in with her, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience.
What you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is what is going wrong. This is what we're supposed to do. when you get comfortable with the transition and you make it a part of your life,
Yeah.
then the value of your own life becomes more important. You got to understand that people who are losing control are manipulative. If they never were manipulative, they're going to be manipulative. And if they were manipulative, they're going to get worse.
Yeah.
But once you know that simple fact, the rest of it is having them at home is the way you do it, and you figure out how to do it. You don't say you can't; you just figure out how to do it.
Well, thank you for being with us at the beginning, and Dannion's going to be with us throughout the show. And a reminder, if you want to learn more about Dannion, go to lightstreamers.com, and right in the middle, it says, "Take me to Dannion," and we all want to go to Dannion Brinkley. There he is.
But you can write me. You can write me there. I mean, people, Mel handles that, and if somebody needs to get in touch with me, it'll go to Mel, and he'll make sure that I answered or see it. Don't people don't think that it's not me not looking at it.
All right, that's good to know. So,
and I love everybody, and I love everybody who's on this pre-show call. I love you.
Thank you. And yeah, lots of people have been sending in messages. You'll be able to read them. And I want to acknowledge, I didn't really talk so much with our Zoom room members, but, thank you, Janet, for all that you shared about your mother, and your Susie Karasik, all about the afterlife of Billy Fingers. Omashar, we love you. Looking forward to your music later on tonight. Janet Connell writes, I've read Dannion's books, and I want to know if I can return to my home planet when I leave here. You got 30 seconds to answer, Janet.
The answer is yes. But I don't. When you were